afternoon, everyone, and thanks for that wonderful introduction. Today I'll be speaking about, like the speaker said, like the host said, uncovering the modern data stack and its myth. And I'll talk about why I'm calling it a myth as well. I think you heard about this, so I'll just quickly skip. Now, as enterprises, and as GCCs as well, we come up with strategic data initiatives. And what are the top 3, 4, 5 initiatives that usually people line up with? Is that we've got to modernize our data environment. So the moment we do that, then we start Googling about a term called modern data stack. Sorry. And when you Google, you end up with search results that look like this, a lot of things. Nowadays, you even ask ChatGPT, what is a modern data stack? It gives you an answer around essentially that it's a collection of tools and technologies that help you move from data to insights and through that entire process. Essentially, you end up with something like this, where you've got your data sources, and there is a data lake warehouse, but it's not only the data lake or the warehouse that is a part of the modern data stack. You've got certain ingestion platforms, you've got data transformation platforms, then you need to visualize it. Before that, you need to catalog it. And there is a reverse ETL and orchestration. I'll speak about it a little bit more. Then, what are the myths around this, right? Now, each of those blocks that you saw, let me go back. Each of these blocks that we just saw, I could name 10 different platforms that are catering to individually each one of them, right? And what we end up with is that we have to end up evaluating as enterprises who are going to implement this modern data stack. We end up evaluating 10 different solutions for each of those blocks before we can build our modern data stack, right? We start with the warehouse. We consider it, the tools to ingest it. It's free or cheap. It's maybe easy to use because of its UI-driven, way of implementation. It's easy to manage, more agile. But essentially, what you're ending up with is a stack of tools, individually okay to implement, easy to implement. But how do you make them interact with each other? How do you stitch them all together, right? And if you look at the objective of building a modern data stack, it's essentially to go from data to insights and then finally act on it. And in that journey, we are involving multiple user persona within an enterprise, right? It starts from your central IT platform teams, because they are the people who are in charge of your data sources. It involves a person or an architect kind of a persona who is either taking care of the central warehouse, the data engineers, the business analysts, the data scientists. So there's a whole gamut of persona involved in this entire journey of data to insights to action, right? So you've got to keep all of this in mind before you are able to say that this is going to be my data stack. Essentially, if you were to just go individually without putting a thought process to this entire thing, you will end up with issues like, you'll end up with data silos. One team is using X tool for data ingestion, another team is using Y tool for data ingestion or for data analysis. I've spoken in my experience with enterprises that this function uses something for their data analysis, and this team is more comfortable with Z tool for data analysis. Now, as an enterprise, you don't want to be in that situation. So you'd want to, at some point, standardize across the enterprise so that, as an enterprise, typically you have a center of excellence, which is what GCCs are all about. And you have a hub and spoke model, where within the functions that you're catering to, they have the same set of expertise. They have the same language that you can speak to them. But often, when it is in silos, you end up talking different languages to different functions, and it ends up slowing the entire business outcome that you're trying to achieve, right? So how do we build a modern data stack, right? First step, let's go back to the diagram. First step, figure out what is your central data repository. Is it a data lake? Is it a warehouse? Even before that, do you actually need one? Let me qualify that with an example. Right, I was speaking to, again, an enterprise, large enterprise, a central IT team. And then this was 5, 6 years back, not very recent. And we were talking, and I was selling ClickSense at that point of time, and they said, we've spun up a Hadoop ecosystem because our data is huge in size, and hence now we are looking for a solution that can sit on top of our Hadoop framework and analyze the data that sits within it. We've tried various tools. They are slow to extract the data out of Hadoop. We've used Hive. We've done a ton of things, but we've not been able to get the speed at, extract the data in the speed that we require it from. So before even understanding what or how we can extract it faster, the question that I asked them was, what is the volume of data that you're keeping in your Hadoop ecosystem? Because then I can stitch a solution around it. And believe it or not, they gave me answers in few GBs. Now you don't need a Hadoop to handle GBs of data, right? You need a Hadoop framework to handle perhaps terabytes of data, or even larger. So do you need it at all is a question that we should keep asking ourselves if we are evaluating some technology. Once you've cleared that part, I'm assuming you've cleared that part, and you're looking for a modern data stack, then as an enterprise, you need to decide whether you're comfortable moving to the cloud, which most organizations are. But for some regulatory reasons, if you still want to be on-prem, that's a decision that you need to take as an enterprise. What are your timelines? Right? Have that agreed with your stakeholders, your business stakeholders. If you don't have that, you're not working towards an objective. Me as a seller, when I go to an enterprise and ask them, if they're evaluating any analytics platform or any data engineering platform, the first thing I try to understand is when is it that they want to finalize on a solution. And I work backwards from there, that what is the evaluation journey going to look like. But if you, as someone who's going to implement a data stack, don't have timelines in mind, then it is a journey that has no end, that has no objective towards it. And when you talk to sellers like us, we'll really not be able to give you that amount of urgency that you would like us to give. And also understand the user persona that you're trying to address out of this data lake or warehouse. Right? It could be just your business folks, or do you also want to address your data scientist community as well? So essentially, what are the activities that you'd want to do at this stage? Educate yourself. The easiest way to educate yourself is talk to vendors like us, right? I'm sitting on the other side, eager to educate people rather than sell to you. And there are all the vendors that you see are today more interested in doing solution selling rather than just selling. So talk to us, we'll educate you, but sometimes only us educating you is not enough. Talk to the consultants, talk to the analysts, right? And they give you a different dimension to it. So it's all about education at this stage when you're deciding your data lake or warehouse. Second, don't only stick in your decision in terms of evaluating your data lake or warehouse. Understand what's the ecosystem around it, right? Each of these blocks that are there are 10 solutions around it. More importantly, do you want to evaluate 10 different solutions for each of them? Or do you want to evaluate one solution that is able to cater to all of this? That's a decision that you should probably consider. So whether it's going to be point solutions for all of these blocks, or you would rather have one neck to hold who can handle all of these things. The funny thing is that in the market today, while I can fill 10 different vendors who will fulfill each of these blocks, there will not be a common name across these blocks, except for maybe the hyperscalers and maybe Qlik. Then, is your team capable enough to handle the full code solutions, or you're looking for a no code solution? That's a key consideration that you should have. Whether you're comfortable doing it in-house or you would want to outsource it. So when you're speaking to vendors, understand how do you get that skill set in terms of if you were to implement that, or does that vendor have partners who can help you accelerate your implementation cycle? And again, focus on the end users, focus on the business users. What is the outcome that you're trying to get for your business team should be the end objective of it. So key activities during that, create your checklists. I'll show an example of one checklist that I created for one block. You would have to work on creating your own checklist so that you're able to fulfill your own needs, considering that you are moving towards the goal of addressing a business need. Understand the strengths and weaknesses of each of the platforms that you're trying to evaluate, and shortlist. And only then I would say move towards a proof of concept. Sorry. This is one checklist for just the data ingestion piece block that I showed in the previous diagram. If you've decided that it's a low-code solution builder that you'd want, so does the solution that I'm looking at, does it have a data pipeline builder which is low-code? Does it support cloud targets? If, let's say, that cloud target is something that I'm looking at. Does it connect to my cloud and the enterprise data sources that I have? Today, I have 10 data sources. But in the future, as and when I move in my enterprise journey, I will have more and more data sources coming in, which will be part of my enterprise ecosystem. Is the tool that I'm evaluating capable of handling that gamut of things that are probably going to come in the future? If it's data delivery or data movement from a source to target, does it do real time? Does it do batch load, right? What's the format in which it stores the data in? Is it replication only, which means it overwrites the data that comes in? Or does it maintain a history of the data that I'm trying to get in? Is there a gateway that allows me to securely move the data from my source to the target, even if it is a cloud solution? Does it allow for some transformation? So this is just some checklist as part of an organization that I might build to evaluate certain solutions. And these checklists, we can help you build, a consultant can help you build, or you yourself can build. But at least have checklists for each of those blocks that you're trying to evaluate for, right? So this is, again, one checklist that for one of the blocks. Similarly, you could build checklists for all of them. Finally, you arrive at your modern data stack. Perhaps this is your need, right? You need your real-time data movement. You need push-down data transformation to the lake or the warehouse. You need to integrate, or you need to have an integrated data and lineage catalog. The data pipelines need to be automated. And finally, all of this needs to be orchestrated all within one tool. So if that is what your need is, then you go in the market and see which platform fulfills that need. Finally, this is about Qlik, the organization that I'm part of representing here. We have around 38,000 customers globally, industry leader, been in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for almost 12 to 13 years. And in India, we are present for more than 10 years now and have a strong presence of more than 1,000 customers. Thank you so much. That's been my time.